Hello everybody, it's Amiga Rob here, and today I'm doing a video um, that popped into my head after Guru Larry Bundy Jr. joined me on my live stream the other day unexpectedly. Dropped in on the chat side and we were chatting about stuff, and he mentioned that his sleeping pattern is a little bit messed up at the minute, and it was pretty early in the morning, and I didn't think at the time, but I was going to make a suggestion, which is something like this, which is well, this particular one's LifeMax LightPod daylight simulator, they call it, which I got from Amazon a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. I've got a long-term condition that I don't absorb vitamin D properly, which causes me problems with sleep. I take a supplement now that makes a big difference, but I do have a tendency for my sleeping patterns to get a little bit messed up, which is probably why I was doing a live stream that started at 3:30 in the morning. And I sort of for a long time was thinking about getting a daylight simulator, which I think they sort of call this. And I think the idea of a daylight simulator is that I hear lots of explanations, like for example that it sort of gives you a certain amount of exposure to daylight, which gets all your rhythms correct. You need the sunlight to be able to know when to sleep, which I think my personal feeling is that's sort of right, but not quite. My theory is, because these things do work for me, sort of, occasionally, sometimes. But my theory is it's about when the sun is highest in the sky, and I think that the problem that a lot of us have in the present day is that we don't see the horizon in our everyday lives. If you live in a city, as I do at present, I spend most of my time living in a city, but some of the time I spend a little bit more, slightly more countryside-y area. A bit, where I can see the horizon. But if you're living in a built-up area, you don't see the sunrise and you don't see the sun fall, and it's possible to not be in sight of the sun all day. And the only thing I think these things do is just give you that intensity of light that makes you think, or somewhere in your mind or your brain, it triggers the thing that detects when the sun is at the highest point in the sky. I think that's what it does, because this will probably be the brightest light that you'll see. It's got whatever frequencies are necessary, but I think that's all it does. So your brain goes, the sun is at the highest point. When you switch it off, everything's dimmer, and your brain thinks, right, that must be the middle of the day. And what I notice is someone that won't get tired. I mean, I get tired, I get fatigued, but I don't get that kind of sleepiness generally in the evenings. Sometimes if I'm using this, it'll get to sort of 7 o'clock-ish, and I'm thinking, it's like to slow down now, it's time for bed. Bed's going to be in a few hours' time. And it just seems to knock all your rhythms back into shape. So I use this sparingly. If I'm because normally I rarely get to sleep before 1 o'clock in the morning on a good day. A few years ago I was regularly midnight, 11 o'clock, half 11 I was going to sleep. Been having a bad run for a few years, but this can help knock it. So for example, I used it for a couple of days in a row. I was getting to I had a few nights where I completely was almost awake the whole night, and then I might just from fatigue drop off during the day. If I use this, then I might go to sleep at 2 o'clock one night, and then the next night 1 o'clock, the night after that midnight, and that's sort of about when I generally go to sleep. So this can be very helpful. Now what you don't want to do, let's see if I switch this on, it might completely, it's probably not going to do good for this camera, but everything goes black in response. If you use one of these things, what you don't want to do is to sit yourself right in front of it, because it's ridiculously bright and you will very quickly burn out your retinas. I don't think it did much good to the webcam. Everything looks very yellow in it now. Let me just have a quick look and see how it's configured here. It's just that's a bit better. So yeah, you don't want to look at this. What I do is, if I'm doing the washing up or something, I first of all I try and use it as close to 12 o'clock, or when the sun should be the highest in the sky as possible. So 12, 1 o'clock, usually no later than 1:15. I would recommend using it, and I just switch it on and put it on the side, and I don't have it right shining in my face. I'll have it sort of turned a little bit towards me, and just uses a mains power adapter, so you have to be somewhere near a plug. But I just leave it so it's sort of in the corner of my eye, not shining directly into my, just in the corner. And that, I guess that's a bit like if you're walking down the road and the sun is up high, and you just got it, because you don't stare at the sun either. So but it's just there, and I think that's that triggers your body clock. And no, I don't know. I might be wrong. It might be that this is doing things in your skin and who knows what. But I don't. That's not what I feel, because I can use it for 5 minutes and it has the same effect. This particular one has variable settings. You can switch one set of bulbs on or both. I generally just use both. I don't think the bulbs are replaceable in this, and I don't believe this one is readily available anymore. But there's so many of these things. I think they're all pretty much alike. You just have to get one that is, ideally you want one that has simulates proper daylight frequencies, I guess. So it will be slightly blue like this one is, which should just about show it is quite a blue light. I mean, there is a blue surround that projects blue a bit, but it is actually quite a fairly cold light coming out there with a lot. Well, it appears slightly cold. It's got a lot of frequencies in it. So anyway, that's what I would suggest if you do have a problem and you just can't get yourself. Now I've switched that on and been exposed to it. I'll probably be at 4 o'clock. Get to sleep at 4 o'clock this morning. But yeah, the LifeMax Light Pod is what I use. There are other brands out there. This one might not be out there anymore, and it might help you out. Thanks for watching. You know how to subscribe and like and all the rest of it, or dislike if you felt this was an offensive